Welcome to PH Insight. Know the force behind the flag. Whether it's warships, fighter jets, or the next big defense move, if it matters to Philippine security, it's here. In a bold and candid statement, Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro has made clear the country's position on its future acquisition of multi-role fighter aircraft. These jets are not for show, they're for warfighting. The message, simple but powerful, sends a clear signal to both suppliers and strategic partners. The Philippine Air Force, PAF, intends to use its future combat aircraft as a central pillar of national defense, not just as tools for ceremonial flybys and airshows. What we do not want is to buy, have orders, have deliveries and not being able to use them for their optimal use and just have them flying air shows, Teodoro said in a televised interview. With regional tensions rising and territorial disputes intensifying, the Philippines is keen to ensure that its next-generation aircraft will be fully operational, unrestricted by narrow end-user agreements. This reflects a growing realization in defense circles that air power must be both credible and actionable, especially in the South China Sea and other contested areas. For years, the Philippines has aspired to rebuild its air combat capabilities, following decades of underinvestment and neglect. The retirement of the F-5 Freedom fighter fleet in 2005 left the country with no dedicated supersonic fighters until the acquisition of 12 Fa-50PH Fighting Eagles from South Korea in 2015. While effective as lead-in fighter trainers and light strike aircraft, F-50s are not in the same league as true multi-role fighters like the F-16, JAS-39 Gripen, or Rafale. The current MRF program, originally part of the revised AFP Modernization program's Horizon 2 phase, is aimed at acquiring more capable aircraft with advanced sensors, electronic warfare suites, and long-range missile capability. The goal, Project Deterrent Power, establish air superiority, and provide credible defense against foreign threats. However, acquiring advanced fighters comes with legal and political strings. Chief among them are end-user agreements, legal documents signed between the supplier country and the buyer to restrict how the equipment can be used. These often limit the operational employment of the platforms, especially in politically sensitive situations. This is where Teodoro's remarks draw attention. The Philippine government does not want to invest billions of pesos in aircraft it cannot fully use, particularly in high-stakes regional security scenarios like a maritime standoff in the West Philippine Sea. End-user restrictions are common among Western suppliers, particularly the United States, which has historically imposed tight controls on how exported combat systems are used. These agreements are intended to prevent misuse, human rights violations, or escalation of regional conflicts, but they also have strategic drawbacks for buyer nations like the Philippines. Two recent international examples illustrate the potential pitfalls. Pakistan's long-standing fleet of F-16s, supplied by the United States, is considered a core component of its air defense. However, strict end-use limitations reportedly prevent their use in offensive missions against India, even during border flare-ups. Although Pakistan has used the F-16s alongside Chinese JF-17s and J-10s in high-tension periods, such as the 2019 Balakot standoff and a reported incident in May 2025, these uses remain politically controversial and risk breaching supplier agreements. In response, Washington has, in the past, delayed support or spare parts shipments to pressure compliance. Thailand operates a small fleet of Swedish-built JAS-39 Gripen fighters. In early 2024, reports emerged that some of these aircraft were used in airstrikes during a Cambodia-Thailand border skirmish. While details remain classified, Swedish defense officials are said to be reviewing the incident to determine if the strikes violated Stockholm's export conditions. This incident could affect future Gripen sales, not just to Thailand but to potential customers like Colombia, Peru, and the Philippines, countries that are watching how Sweden navigates the issue. If Sweden decides to penalize Thailand or restrict future sales, it might signal to other countries that even Gripens come with operational strings attached. The Philippine Air Force faces a difficult balancing act. On one hand, it seeks the best technology available from trusted suppliers, often US or Western European manufacturers. On the other hand, it must preserve its sovereignty in how those weapons are used. There's concern among military planners that if the fighters are only cleared for internal security or counterterrorism operations, then they're overkill for the job. In such cases, drones, helicopters, and light attack aircraft are more cost-effective. Multi-role fighters are inherently strategic. They are designed for air defense, interdiction, and offensive operations. If limited to chasing small insurgent groups or conducting ceremonial flypasts, they fail to meet their true potential. Worse, they become expensive liabilities rather than strategic assets. This debate is not occurring in a vacuum. The Philippines is at the front line of rising tensions in the South China Sea. Repeated clashes with Chinese maritime forces near Ayungin Shoal and Bajo de Masinloc have underscored the urgent need for credible air power. Chinese jets routinely patrol the region, and airspace over the Spratly Islands is increasingly contested. For the Philippines, having MRFs capable of rapid deployment, interception, and deterrent strikes is no longer a theoretical need, it's a daily operational requirement. Furthermore, with U.S. forces gaining expanded access to Philippine bases under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, and with Australia and Japan also deepening military ties with Manila, the need for interoperability and strategic flexibility is growing. Yet, full integration with allies must be balanced with independent operational freedom. The Philippine military does not want to become overly dependent on any single supplier whose political conditions might limit Philippine response options during crises. Observers have long questioned why the Philippines' MRF program has yet to reach contract signing. Both Saab, Gripen, and Lockheed Martin, F-16, have submitted offers. Sweden has pitched the Gripen C/D and E/F variants, while the U.S. has offered the F-16V Block 70-72, considered one of the most advanced fourth-generation fighters in the world. However, negotiations have reportedly dragged on for years. Teodoro's recent statements provide insight. Philippine defense planners are pressing both companies, and their respective governments, for clear, written assurances that the aircraft will be usable in a full spectrum of operations, especially in defense of national sovereignty. While some countries are willing to accept restrictions in exchange for top-tier technology, the Philippines appears to be taking a different route, pushing for sovereign-friendly terms. This approach may be slower, but in the long run, it may result in a more capable and self-determined force. There's also the possibility of Manila exploring non-Western options, such as Korea's upcoming KF-21 Boramae, or even indigenous solutions developed with foreign partners. However, these alternatives are still in development or may come with their own political entanglements. In the meantime, the Philippines is expanding its drone fleet, investing in radar coverage, and conducting joint exercises with allies to build combat readiness, even as the MRF decision looms large. Secretary Teodoro's frank remarks reflect a larger shift in Philippine defense thinking. The era of symbolic defense purchases, where high-tech platforms are acquired but rarely used, is coming to an end. In its place is a doctrine focused on readiness, autonomy, and operational utility. As the MRF acquisition moves toward a decision point, the Philippine government is making one thing clear: it will not accept aircraft that come with invisible chains. These jets must be able to fly not just for display, but for the defense of Philippine sovereignty.